Before we get into your guys' spreads today, let me give you some background information on this Scorpio full moon. So this full moon in Scorpio is well placed in relation to Pluto, the planet of transformation and rebirth. This full moon is also well placed in relation to Zubena Shamali, which is the star of good karma, good fortune, high ambition, beneficence, honor, riches, and permanent happiness. This combination means different things for different people. This full moon incites and stirs up feelings concerning what you want versus what you need. Inner tension and external pressures can lead to personal conflict and crises that drain your energy. If your life is a constant struggle, use this positive energy of the full moon to improve your life by eliminating something negative. In general, a full moon's effects last for 2 weeks, up to the next new moon, which will transpire on May 25th, 2017. The following chart displays other planetary aspects being made. However, this full moon makes just one planetary aspect. The moon sextile Pluto makes this a heavy and serious full moon, but also a positive one. Intense personal interactions will reveal exactly how you feel about someone and how they feel about you. Greater power and influence over your own life allows for a positive transformation. Relationships will evolve to a deeper level, or you will be free to move on. Anything that is in a state of decay in your life can be reborn now. You can clean away clutter in your mind and your environment. You can also get to the root of any bad habits or addictions to eliminate the destructive behavior. More control over your own emotions together with a powerful intuition will guide you on your journey into the underworld. Sort of like a psychologist, you can deeply probe under the surface to solve mysteries or investigate crimes and secrets. One of the best things about this May 2017 full moon in Scorpio's astrology is how it complements the previous moon phase. The April 27, 2017 new moon shone a light on our dark side. The positive transformation and liberation from guilt, fear, and shame, as it was described, now moves into top gear for the next 2 weeks. Okay, guys, with that background information being said, let's go ahead and move on to your spreads. Hey, Gemini. Here's your reading for the full moon in Scorpio. We're going to do something a little different this time. So let's go and get started. Guardian angels of love and light, ancestors lost and known in the seas of time, please intercede into this reading to provide Gemini with the clarity and direction as to which he or she seeks. And please grant me, the reader, the objectivity to read the cards and relay the messages as they're meant to be. Okay, so this first shuffle right here is for summation for Gemini. The second shuffle right here is for sublimation. Sorry guys, these are big cards. Sublimation for Gemini. This is for sterilization for Gemini. And here's this shuffle for solicitation for Gemini. So here's summation, sublimation, sterilization, and solicitation. So summation, sublimation, sterilization, and solicitation. Kind of difficult fitting all these cards in frame. Okay. So, for summation, you guys got the moon. For sublimation, you got the moon reverse. That's right. For sublimation, the Six of Wands. For sterilization, the Queen of Discs in reverse. And for solicitation, it's got the Knight of Cups here. Okay. So for how you may be perceived during this full moon, we got, ironically enough, the moon in reverse here. So the moon in reverse here can speak of fear, deception, secrets, danger, and also hidden enemies. So Gemini, I'm not sure why, and you guys see how I shuffle things and how they all come out and how the cards tend to pop out. This time I kind of select them at the bottom of the deck, but you guys still saw how I shuffled things. I'm not sure why, Gemini, things have been turning out in my readings for you guys in terms of deception and secrets. I'm not sure why this is sort of happening, but I feel like this is happening for a reason, and I'm not, how can I say this? I'm not too sure. I'm sure enough, I should say. Let me renege that, but I'm sure enough to know that I do shuffle the cards accordingly, and I do shuffle them well enough. And it always seems, Gemini, that the moon in reverse is coming up, or the moon, or the Eight of Cups, or, you know, things of that nature are coming up a lot. And you may be perceived as so this full moon, Gemini, as being somewhat, you know, deceptive, and secrets may be possibly coming out. But when the moon is in reverse, it usually implies that there's secrets that are being withheld. When the moon is upright, it usually implies that a secret is going to be revealed. Now, when secrets are being held, that's the deception. But when the moon is upright, that means that the lies are going to, you know, be revealed, essentially. So maybe people are going to see that this is kind of what's going on with you, Gemini, and you're going to be perceived as so, as having maybe hidden enemies, and having maybe somewhat of danger involved. Now, when I say danger, I don't mean danger as in like your guys' lives or things happening like that. But with secrets being held and with deception comes along with that is danger. More of danger with being honest with people, Gemini. And people then being forced to perceive you as so. Excuse me. Even though that may not be somewhat of your intentions, but when you are deceptive, Gemini, people then tend to veer away from you or from your direction. Because people just don't really know if they're coming or they're going. And this causes a lot of people to not want to maybe somewhat deal with people who are deceptive, or it's a fear as well. So I kind of feel, Gemini, that a lot of the times when secrets are being held, it's because of fear and it's because of anxiety that's dwelling within. But ironically enough, Gemini, when you do this also causes other people to feel as so. So it's really counterproductive, Gemini. I understand that there are some things that we must keep to ourselves, of course, 100%. But whenever we're in a relationship, or whenever we're involved with people where honesty is the utmost importance, people then perceive you to be deceptive. And it's perceived as though things are not being put out there or being told truthfully. And it's really counterproductive, Gemini. I mean, I'm even somewhat baffled and perplexed to the fact that the moon came out in reverse, the first card. Like, I really don't have too many words to really give you in terms of how this is actually happening and how it's transpiring as so. I don't believe that it's my energy that's maybe protruding, or can I say not protruding, I'm sorry, like exuding upon the deck, because I have a lot of very close Gemini friends and I love them dearly. So I really feel like it's not coming from me. I always shuffle with optimism, included within my energy. So I really don't want to make this reading about me per se, because it's not. It's about you guys. But I just want you to know that I don't purposely do this, or that my energy isn't geared towards a certain outcome. But we also have to remember, Gemini, when secrets are withheld, it also has to do with fear and also sadness that's at the root of it. Because we feel like we need to be deceptive or secretive with certain people, but it's because it could be feelings of inadequacy, it could be feelings of insecurities, which we all have. But it'll be a lot easier and it'll make things a lot swifter if we're just honest about them. We don't have to be completely 100% honest about them, but we must communicate this with people, because then they can then approach us a certain way and we can approach them accordingly. And then, Gemini, you'll learn so much about yourself through the opinions of other people, given that, they're coming from a credited source, or that they're coming from a benign source, I should say. So let's keep that in mind, okay, Gemini? Now for sublimation, for what shadow sides have you possibly ignored? You guys got these 6 of Wands here. And these 6 of Wands can speak of slaying your dragons and conquering your demons and being direct and also forceful in an appropriate manner, of course, and being astute and also standing up for what is right, Gemini. And it's funny, Gemini, how you may be perceived came out to be deceptive and secrets being withheld in fear, but then the next card right here, what have you possibly ignored, has to do with standing up for what is right and being direct and being astute in terms of doing what's right. Maybe you have been ignoring some of those things, Gemini, that you haven't been truthfully honest about. Because the 6 of Wands is a card of, well, in this deck, it's a card of power. It's a card of being true to yourself, and that's great. And you guys always should be, as anyone should be. But it's counterproductive if you're deceitful about your plans and your goals and your aspirations, but then you can't stand up for what is right necessarily. I mean, in relation to, these cards next to each other. And it's about slaying your dragons as well, the 6 of Wands here. Gemini, you need to slay that dragon of feeling inadequate or feeling insecure about certain things, and own them and move forward with them, and then be honest about it. And then you are living in your truth, and you're living in your abundance of self, satisfaction and self-worth and self-affliction and everything of the sort. You really have to start to be honest, Gemini, about certain things. Because like I said before, it's only going to help you grow as a person. It's going to help you be that person that you perceive yourself to be in your head, or in your thoughts, I should say. Because I know you can do it, Gemini. There are just certain things that you need to be honest about. For sterilization right here, for how you can shed these old patterns, you guys got the Queen of Discs in reverse. The Queen of Discs in reverse shows pressure and slow growth, lack of stability, weakness, and where things are it's not enough. You're going to have to find, Gemini, what is not enough, or what you seek to be not enough, and why you have or feel that these things are pressure and they're actually pushing you down. And I really feel, Gemini, that honesty is one of the things that you're going to have to work on, because that's the only way that these patterns are going to be shed. This is the only way that the sterilization can then happen. It's the only way, Gemini. Because when the Queen of Discs is upright, it's someone that is safe and secure for growth. And Gemini, I feel like you really do want to get there, and everyone is in support of you getting there. But you're going to have to get there yourself, Gemini, and you're going to have to make sure that you are safe and secure with yourself before you can then be safe and secure with maybe anyone else. Because then you can give back, Gemini, but you can't give back if you don't even give yourself the honesty that you need to give. This is also a card when it's upright, is someone who is unconquerable, stability and prosperity. But you can't have that, Gemini, if you have slow growth and you feel like things are pressured upon you. Now, I mean, they could be other elements to, to the mix, of course. Home life and work and other things, obligations, and of course, I understand. But we also have to remember, Gemini, that we're not, or you're not the only ones that have obligations, and you're not the only ones that are bound to certain responsibilities. We all are. And you never know, Gemini, what if you speak about them and people can give you sound advice that can really help you out? I really think that trust is largely involved in this. We're going to have to start to trust, Gemini, because without trust, there's no honesty. So for socialization right here, for what advice does Spirit have for you? You guys got the Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups can speak of searching for the things that matter in terms of the heart, love, and meaning in life. Also in compassion, experience, and how maturity is the key. And how this person right here is a self-made person. These are all pretty good cards, Gemini. But these all cannot happen unless we are honest. And we can't blame people for perceiving us as the moon in reverse if that's what we're giving off, if that's the vibe that we're exuding. Self matters, or searching for the matters of love in the heart and the meaning of life and compassion and experience and maturity being the key. We have to reach this point, Gemini. We really do. And I feel like this is a beautiful spread in terms of how one follows the other. Spirit is advising you to search for that. Because in this deck, the knights are people who search for things, depending upon the element, whether it's cups, wands, swords, things of that nature. But the Knight of Cups is someone specifically who searches for those matters of the heart and the meaning in life. And being a self-made person, because when you do search for those things and you find them, Gemini, you are then a self-made person. Then maybe the moon card can then be upright. Because then what will be revealed is the truth, Gemini. The truth in yourself. And the truth of being that self-made person that you know, that I know and you know that you are. But we must reach that, Gemini. And it's only going to start with you. The way that you view yourself and how you come off and the vibe that you exude. It's all predicated upon how you view and feel about yourself, Gemini. Okay? I know you can do it. I believe in you. I know you can do it. I know the last couple of spreads have been kind of hard and, they haven't been very favorable. And I'll always give credit where it's due. And I feel like maybe through this full moon, excuse me, that this may be the thing that's going to push you guys to finally realize some of these things and to actually change these things. Because like I said, underneath all of the secrets and the deception and the lies is just hurt and sadness. And you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable, Gemini, or else you're never going to heal. But we must discern and be sure that the people that we're being vulnerable with are people who actually have our best interests at heart. Now, I know that that's tough and it's not guaranteed, but that's just love and that's life. The search for meaning of that. You have to search for it, Gemini, because you won't find it if you don't search for it. All right? Okay, that concludes your spread for the full moon in Scorpio. Hope you enjoyed it. Hey, my Libra scales. Here's your guys' reading for the full moon in Scorpio. We're doing things a little bit different this time. So let's go ahead and bless the cards. Guardian angels of love and light, ancestors lost and known in the seas of time, please intercede into this reading to provide Libra with the clarity and direction as to which he or she seeks, and please grant me, the reader, the objectivity to read the cards and relay the messages as they are meant to be. Okay, here's a shuffle for summation. And here's the shuffle for sublimation. Here's a shuffle for sterilization. And the last shuffle for solicitation. Okay, summation, sublimation, right here, sterilization, and solicitation. Okay, so for summation, the Eight of Cups in reverse. For sublimation, the Chariot in reverse. And for sterilization, the Four of Discs. And for solicitation, we have the Knight of Discs in reverse. Okay. So for how you may be perceived during this full moon, Libra, we got the Eight of Cups in reverse. The Eight of Cups in reverse is fear, pain, and rejection, inability to be vulnerable. or inability for vulnerability. Inability to be, or to be in that space of vulnerability. Also, having a heart that is closed or guarded. I feel, Libra, that this full moon may be perceived as, or full moon in Scorpio, may be perceived as closed off. Maybe not being so open. And we all have our reasons. Once again, this is a general reading. And whatever those reasons may be, whenever we feel closed off, Libra, about certain things, it's usually granted for a specific reason. But we must also remind ourselves that when we are closed off like that, it does have a lot to do with the fear and pain of rejection. But why do we feel like there's pain and rejection that's involved in being so closed off, or that causes us to be closed off? Why do we feel like that's something that we need to do? Because, Libra, you must realize that when you're closed off, people will perceive you as being closed off for a specific reason that has to do with fear of pain of rejection. And then, if you're not closed off, people may then reject you, or they could possibly not reject you, but then they could gain some understanding. So either way, Libra, when you are closed off, or choosing to be closed off, kind of amounts to the same thing as if you were just to be honest. But at least when you're honest about certain things, at least you have that 50% chance of it actually not being counterproductive. But when you are closed off, Libra, it's exactly 100% counterproductive in a sense. For sublimation here, what shadow sides have you possibly ignored? The Chariot in reverse here. The Chariot in reverse here speaks of lack of control and lack of action, and also stalled movement. But also in this deck, the Chariot is in reverse here. It also means victimhood. Now, I feel like there's a direct relationship between summation and sublimation here, because we can't feel that victimhood or play that victimhood role if we are closed off and people don't understand us because we aren't communicating with them. People are not going to respond to you the way that you would like them to if you don't communicate what's going on. And then when things are stalled, and when things don't move forward, and there's a lack of control and a lack of action, maybe like the lack of action of not completely being open with people, we can't be upset when we become the victim, or when we think we become the victim. Granted that things happen for a specific reason, yes, we are closed off with them, which take your time, of course. But we can't always be closed off with fear of rejection, or because of that being something of maybe like the end result. We can't do that, Libra, because it only leads to being stalled. It only leads to not putting that vitality into action and actually moving forward with it. We can't stall, Libra, anymore. People are no longer responsive towards that type of behavior or that type of movement, I should say, even though kind of an oxymoron, but type of, behavior or type of movement where it doesn't happen because you're actually causing yourself to be stalled and not moving forward by being closed off and by not having an open heart. So maybe some of the shadow sides include that, having lack of control and lack of action, because it comes from being closed off. Now for sterilization here, we have, or for how can you shed these old problems, or these, how can you shed these old patterns, I apologize. we have the Four of Discs here. And the Four of Discs, upright right here, is about keeping balance and harmonization. And keeping things settled, or having things be settled through your life, through careful physical, needs, and also through care for your body and for your house and for your money and your environment. In and out throughout those areas of care for your physical needs and for your life and for your body and for your home, for your money and your environment as well. Because it's important to keep that balance, Libra. And I don't think that this happened or this card came out in this specific position or placement because it's all about the balance, Libra. That's what we are about. I can say I'm a Libra rising. That's what it's all about. It's having that balance. Because when we have that balance, then we would then have that proper movement of moving forward with things, and then we can turn the chariot upright. But it all starts with that balance and keeping the balance and the harmony. Because we must settle our life and our care in terms of our physical needs and personal needs. But it all comes with not being so pent up and having people see that you're so pent up. Because it does come from lack of balance. But this card's here. I feel like it's really good. This is the things that are going to help shed these old patterns of maybe being pent up and of maybe being stalled. Is keeping that balance, Libra. You have to keep that balance. And you must do those things that help maintain that balance as well. Because it's not about achieving the goal, it's about maintaining the goal. And you can't become or be complacent, because then you're going to have to repent. Eventually. But it really does, Libra, come from that balance. It comes from that balance. We need to make sure that we maintain the balance, so that's the most important part. Is the universe, spirit, God, can go ahead and give us all of the tools that we need to be balanced. But what are we going to do with the tools? How are they going to be utilized? Because that determines the maintenance of the balance. It determines how we're going to move forward with our plans. But it's not going to move forward if we perceive things to be too much and we pent up and we keep them in and we suppress them and then we're stalled. This is no way right here of thanking the people or the universe or God for giving us those tools that help us move forward, because this is not utilizing it properly. So for what advice does Spirit have for you? We have the Knight of Discs in reverse here. The Knight of Discs in reverse is being unable to see your own blessings and looking outside for answers instead of inside of yourself, and doubting your abilities and having those moments of extreme indulgence and also of extreme deprivation. They're advising you. He's advising you. Whatever your beliefs are. That you have to see your blessings, Libra, and you have to see the things that are there versus what is not there. And not looking outside for specific answers, but looking towards yourself for those answers. But you won't find them, Libra, if you are so pent up. If you have that fear of pain and rejection and inability to be vulnerable, and having your heart being closed and guarded. Because when your heart is closed and guarded, the universe cannot provide those tools and those things that they want to give you to support you if you can't even accept them coming in. Because sometimes we're unable to see our own blessings. And yes, these things happen. Everyone goes through those trials and tribulations of life because you're looking outside for the answers when you really should look inside of yourself and see them. Even though these gifts and these how can I say, these chances and these gifts are actually being bestowed upon you. But yeah, they are coming from the outside, but they're being bestowed upon you. Now, what are you going to do with them? Because that doesn't include looking on the outside. That includes looking on the inside. But you can't walk around with fear of rejection from other people and a rejection from yourself because you're only going to be stalled. Libra? And it's going to cause you to not keep that balance. But that's what the Spirit is advising for you, Libra. They're advising that you need to see and look inside yourself and stop doubting your abilities to keep things balanced. Because when you doubt your ability to keep things balanced, you aren't able to move forward because of the fear, Libra. There's no chance unless you take one, and you need to start to take them. And not doing or making those certain decisions that leave you in complacency. Complacency is okay for a little bit. Complacency is sort of celebrating or relishing within some of the success or some of the earnings that we have acquired. Of course, we must always move forward though, Libra. We can't stay in doing what's comfortable all the time. Or else we would never grow, because then we would never have any experiences that would cause us to grow. You would never stumble across your strength if you aren't in moments of being vulnerable. Because through that, being vulnerable, or through that moment or those moments of having to be vulnerable, we're able to see those things that are in us that we need to change, which strengthens us in the long run. All right, Libra? So make sure we work on these things, okay? All right, I hope you enjoyed your reading for the full moon in Scorpio. Hey, my water barriers. Here's your reading for the full moon in Scorpio. We're going to do things a little different this time, so let's go ahead and get started. Bless the cards. Guardian angels of love and light, ancestors lost and known in the seas of time, please intercede into this reading to provide Aquarius with the clarity and direction as to which he or she seeks, and please grant me, the reader, the objectivity to read the cards and relay the messages as they're meant to be. Okay, here's your shuffle for Aquarius's position of summation. Here's a shuffle for Aquarius's position of sublimation. Here's a shuffle for sterilization. And here's a shuffle for solicitation. Summation, sublimation, sterilization, and solicitation. Okay. So for summation, we got the Three of Cups in reverse, For sublimation, strength. For sterilization, six of discs in reverse. And for solicitation, we have temperance here. Okay. All right. So for how you may be perceived during this full moon, we got the Three of Cups in reverse. The Three of Cups in reverse is, or can signify, needing to get up and rebuild your life or things that are going on. It could also mean jealousy and comparing yourself to others. Aquarius, I really do feel like the getting up and rebuilding yourself is a big one here. Excuse me. The needing to see that things happen for a reason and that everything that has a start has an end as well, but it's all connected into the one thing, to the same thing. What goes up must come down. And certain things may have transpired in your life, Aquarius, that make you feel the need to have to rebuild. Rebuilding is a great thing. I mean, our journey along to having to rebuild isn't necessarily so great, but rebuilding is good because then we learn a lot about ourselves and we learn a lot about the situations that brought us to that point of having to rebuild our infrastructure. We learn about the things that we have contributed to it and also the things that other people may have contributed to it. And it's also a chance, Aquarius, to begin anew and to start again, to rebuild who you are as a person. There's nothing wrong with rebuilding. It's not about how many times you fall down. It's about how many times you get back up, Aquarius, and you, out of all people, know that. You know that that's what it's about. You are the water bearer. You hold water, and you transfer that water, which is the key to life, just like the Three of Cups here. Because within this card, everything comes from one place, even though it may drip or fall down in different areas, it all comes from that same source, Aquarius. And where that same unified source is, that's where you carry the water and you pick it up and you bring it to yourself and to other people. But we must remember, Aquarius, that we can't covet and we can't be jealous of some of the things that other people have. Wealth comes in many different forms, Aquarius. It may not be just wealth of monetarily being wealthy in terms of money. Yeah, money's great. Everyone, loves a check for sure. But one can have monetary wealth, but cannot have any wealth of humility and of structure and wealth of mannerisms and wealth of being astute or wealth of having scruples. Because it comes in many different forms, wealth. And we must remember to not, I should say, compare ourselves to other people, Aquarius, and to what they have. Because don't forget, you hold that water. You hold the source of life. And since you hold that source of life and you bring it to other people and to other life forms, ironically enough, Aquarius, you know where that source is and many other people don't. So you must never forget that. People may perceive that you're holding that wealth or that you're holding back in terms of maybe being honest, or maybe being completely entirely honest with maybe yourself as well as other people. Because, I mean, if you can't be honest with yourself, you can't be honest with other people in return. You must do that, Aquarius. You must be honest with yourself and not be jealous or maybe covet over the things that other people have. Because God knows what other people may covet over you. They may see some of the things that you don't see in yourself, and maybe they may want some of that. And if instead of being, maybe, I hate to use the word jealous because it has such a strong and pejorative connotation attached to it, but at the same time, let's use the word yearning. Some of those things that you yearn for that other people have, and vice versa. But if you guys were to come together and be honest with each other, maybe you guys can teach each other. And then both, as a team, achieve those things that you guys both yearn for in each other. Because that's what it's all about, Aquarius, is giving back. Giving back the life that you carry, the source that you carry. So for what shadow sides have you possibly ignored? Is strength, Aquarius. Having heroism and courage and bravery, greatness and taking responsibility and passion and having passionate intentions. That's what the strength card in this deck means, upright. Have you ignored that self of you, or that part of you, Aquarius, that you have that strength in you to make those changes and to have passion and to exude all of those wonderful qualities? Because maybe some people are coveting over those qualities that you have. But if you have ignored some of them, Aquarius, you can't exude them then, because then you forgot. And you forget to come back to that source and to that person of who you are. You can't give that, or you can't personify that. You have that strength in you, Aquarius. But when that strength starts to dwindle and that strength starts to dissipate, and you don't remind yourself of that, is when the yearning comes. When the objectives are then kind of convoluted, or they become convoluted because we don't see the strength that we have in ourselves. And you do have a lot of strength, Aquarius. It's in you. You just mustn't forget that it's there. You must remind yourself of that, Aquarius. And remind yourself that it is there, and it's only going to continue to be there if you acknowledge that it's there. That you acknowledge that the heroism is there, and the courage and the bravery is there, and the greatness, and taking the responsibility. Taking the responsibility to be able to give that to people, and also taking the responsibility that it is actually in you, and it's there, and it's available at your discretion, and it's available at your, to your viability. I guess I can say it's viable, but you have to remember that it's there. So for how you can shed these old problems, I keep saying that, Jesus Christ, how you can shed these old patterns, I should say. The Six of Discs in reverse here. The six of Discs in reverse can speak of something like Pandora's box. For what escapes from it, or from this box, cannot be put back in. And also dwelling in foreverism, in a sense. That things aren't always going to be forever, or going to maintain its it's going to maintain its proper structure or its proper shape forever. Because change is constant. Things are going to change. And we can't always expect things to be forever or to maintain its shape forever in that sense. Because Pandora's box, let me just go and give you guys a little bit of maybe background information on that. Pandora's box is, in Greek mythology, is Pandora. I can't remember, I think the daughter of Zeus or something to that effect. Don't quote me on that, but she saw this box. And every single thing that was inside of this box, that was enclosed inside of it, were the things and the elements of the earth in terms of emotions and feelings: sadness, happiness, regret, faith, happiness. I'm not sure if I said that, but things of that nature, basically emotions and the goodness and sadness of the world. Every single thing that can be, fathomed up and imagined, and that is actually there, resided in this box. She was told to not open the box or to not go near it. But, curiosity got the best of her, and she opened the box. And all of these attributes and all of these feelings and all of these emotions and elements, I'm just going to call them elements, all of these elements were then protruded and spitted out into this world. And meanwhile, she's trying to close the box because it's of such strength coming, all of these things flying out of this box. And when she finally was able to close the box, there was only one thing left in that box. And that one thing that was left in that box was hope. So you see, Aquarius, hope was all that was left in there. Because what was taken out or what escaped from it cannot be put back in. And hope is the number one thing that we need in this world. It includes faith as well, and all the other adjectives that describe hope, other in support of the word hope. And hope was the only thing that was left in that box. And given she was, too afraid to open it back up, she really didn't know that hope was left in that box. So we must always have hope, Aquarius, that things are going to be better and that things are going to transpire the way that they're supposed to be, because change is constant. We cannot control that. We must always have that in mind, Aquarius, that Pandora's box. Because what happens or what comes out cannot be put back. That things are not going to always be forever. Remind yourself of that, because I think that that's going to help you shed some of these old patterns. And for solicitation right here, for what advice the Spirit have for you, plain and simple, Aquarius, is temperance. Making sure that redemption is involved in renewal and regeneration, transmutation, restoration, healing, rebirth, hardening in terms of hardening of morals and ethics, and also moderation as well, Aquarius. Making sure to remind yourself of that strength that you have inside of you. Reminding yourself that there's a source to everything, and where it begins is where it ends. Always being level-headed, Aquarius, because that's where it all starts from. Remember that hope, which was left in that box, is still in there. And we need to give that to people. Just like you give them hope when you carry that water and that source. Okay, Aquarius? Remember, also redemption for yourself and for other people, and allowing other people to redeem themselves. That's the only way that we learn. Okay, Aquarius? Hope you enjoyed your spread for the full moon in Scorpio.